Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great day at Deep Day. Yes. Okay. Have you participated in many events so far? Gone to the keynote speaker? Have you networked with some of the companies that are here? Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Because Deep Day is all about you. This whole day, designed with you in mind. We've been planning this for weeks and months. And so everything that is planned today was planned because we want to assist you in getting the skills and the information and the opportunities for your success. So again, hopefully you're all taking advantage of that and really maximizing your experience here today. Because again, this is not about any of us who are here as facilitators and speakers and interviewers and resume reviewers. It's about you, our students, and what we're doing to ensure that you're going to be successful. So I'm trying to get adjusted to working with a mic. I'm definitely not comfortable with this, so bear with me. Using a mic and having to use a remote, I don't know how I'm going to make out, but I'm going to give it a shot. So, leading change is the subject for today. I am your facilitator. I am Lily Crawford. I know this gentleman here because you have a mentor. I know this young lady here because she was in the CEO club. I don't know any of the other students present, but I have seen you around here in the College of Business. I worked in Suite 106 in the Delaware Center for Enterprise Development. Did you know that? Know where we are? Past the door? Have a clue? Never seen me before. I am literally downstairs in 106, right down the hall from the Advisement Center. And so what our center does is we are a resource for individuals that are trying to start small businesses, individuals that come in and they just, have an idea. They're going to start a jazz club in Dover. And they can come in and they can meet with our enterprise consultant and talk to her about their idea and start laying out a plan to turning that idea, that dream, into an actual reality of owning a business. We also work with individuals who are in the early stages of their business when they're really starting to feel their way and try to build their customers, and they may need a loan, and we help them through that process. We also have a commercial kitchen incubator, and that actually uses the kitchen upstairs on the third floor. And that's for individuals that are doing food-based businesses so that they can have a licensed commercial space, because did you know you're not supposed to prepare food in your home kitchen to cook and sell, right? So we have a licensed commercial kitchen upstairs that food businesses can use to prepare their food products and then resell them to individuals as a part of their food business. So that is one area that we really focus and concentrate in. We also work with farmers, agribusinesses. So we work with farmers and farmers market managers. We have a youth entrepreneurship camp. We have a Camp Wall Street for high school students. And most recently, we got funded by Verizon to do a camp for middle school males focusing on STEM and entrepreneurship. So that's me. That's enough about me. Again, like I said, this is not about me. This is all about you and what we hope you're going to take away from today and how it's going to inspire you and motivate you to continue to grow and develop and hone your skills while you're here at Delaware State University. So, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about leading change. And leading change with the tagline, progress is impossible without change. And we're going to look at specifically the difference between management and leadership. What are some of the qualities of great leaders? And we're really focusing on Kotter's book, Leading Change, which talks about the 8-step change model. And then we're going to talk about all of you in the room, millennials, as change leaders, because you are definitely not too young to be leaders. So, someone give me your definition of what it means to be a manager. Not mine, yours. Just throw it out. Just what do you think about when you think about a manager? If you've had a job, you've had a manager, right? Responsibility. Responsibility in workplace, right? Something else? Manages the ongoing operation of any business. Great. So that encompasses a lot of what a manager does and what management is. And to give you the textbook definition, it's a set of processes that keep a complicated system of people and technology running smoothly. Consists of controlling a group or individuals to accomplish a goal. So basically what the young gentlemen here and the young lady have said, that is included in what management is. But we're hoping that your experience here in the College of Business is not necessarily preparing you for management, but preparing you for leadership. And so the difference in management and leadership, the famous author Peter Drucker says, is management is doing things right. So a set of processes, this is how we, run the business, this is how we do our daily operations. But leadership is doing the right things. So a leader looks out and says, this may be how it was always done, but is this how it should be done? So they challenge the status quo. They want to make sure that you're heading in the right direction. So the textbook definition of leadership defines what the future should look like, aligns the people with that vision, and inspires them to make it happen. So it refers to an individual's influence, how they motivate, how they enable others to contribute toward organizational success. So a leader is one who knows the way, can't get my pointer to go right, knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way, as the famous author John Maxwell said. So they're leading people forward toward a certain goal. So if you want to look at it as two sides of a coin and put management on one side and leadership on the other side, management is more of a function. Leadership is more of creating relationships. Management is more of planning. Leadership is more of selecting the right talent, getting the right people together. Management is more of budgeting, whereas leadership is more of motivating those members on your team. Management is more of evaluating, whereas leadership is more coaching. Management is more facilitating, whereas leadership is more building trust. So as depicted in the picture, the manager is out there with the teams, basically orchestrating them. You do this, you do that, these are your roles. The leader is in front, pulling the team along, setting that vision, and leading them toward that goal. So, qualities of a great leader. Can someone tell me who you see from your vantage point as a great leader? Somebody that inspires you. I'm sorry? Your mother. Wonderful. Anybody else? Michelle Obama. Yes. Anybody else? Okay, as you see, of course, I'm greatly inspired by Barack Obama. And do we have any freshmen in here? Sophomores? Okay. So what are you, 19, 20? 20. Okay. Okay. So we have juniors? Seniors? Okay. So you're graduating in May? Okay, awesome. So your vantage point and mine, totally different. You're millennials, right? I am a baby boomer. So we have a totally different perspective on how we look at life. But from your perspective and my perspective, we can still find role models, right? So some of you, you said Michelle Obama, you said your mother. These are role models for you. These are people who've been there, done that, achieved success, and you're looking at them as an example that you want to follow. For me, like I said, Barack Obama is a great example. And these are some of the qualities. Focus. Don't major in minor things. What does that mean? Don't sweat the small stuff. That's what it means, really. Be confident. Be inspirational, passionate, innovative, positive, persistence, and integrity. And for me, like I said, I feel that our previous president, Barack Obama, embodied all of those things and was definitely a great leader. And I love this quote that he said probably early in his first term. We did not come to fear the future. We came here to shape it. And I believe he did leave a legacy. And hopefully, we're going to be able to build on that through your generation, who's becoming engaged and more active and more aware of what's going on around you. So, Barack Obama, as many of you, if you were paying attention back in your young years, know that his whole campaign was built around change, right? He talked about hope and he talked about change. So, what is this thing called change? What does it mean for you? So change is the act or instance of making or becoming different. And for all of you, especially, what's your name? Sharnita. Sharnita is a senior. Major change ahead, right? Do you know what you're doing after graduation? Okay. So Sharnita has a plan. Major change. She's graduating from Delaware State University, will no longer be a DSU student. She has a plan going forward. Are you going to grad school or are you going to a job? Awesome. Awesome. She has her position lined up for graduation. Major change is coming in her life because she will no longer be here as a student. She's getting ready to start her professional career. For all of you, whether you're sophomore, junior, you're getting ready to transition. If you're a sophomore, you're transitioning into your junior year. If you're junior, you're transitioning into your senior year. Getting ready to get out of here, graduate, start your careers, right? You need to get prepared for that. Remember this, it takes courage to let go of the familiar to embrace the new. That's what's coming down the road. It's unfamiliar. It's not territory that you've traveled before. So it's not going to be comfortable initially as you launch out there. But you need to get ready for that. And remember this also. We cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. You have to change, right? You graduated from high school, made a decision to come to Delaware State University. Hopefully, when you leave Delaware State University, your 17-year-old, 18-year-old self, you are no longer that person, right? You're now 20, 21. During these 4 years, there's been some growth and development in your personal life. And you're now ready to embark into your career and your life beyond being a student at DSU. So I want to inspire you with this. Today, March 21st, 2017, you have the power to change your story, no matter what that story is at this particular point. So if you think of your life as a book, you might be in chapter 2 or chapter 3. What's coming in chapter 4? You're writing your story every day. So you have an opportunity today. If things aren't going well, you're like barely passing this class, hoping I'm going to go on to be a junior next year. It's, if I don't pass, Dr. Sadugi's class, I don't know. You might be in that situation, or you may be doing really well. Regardless, you're going through a transition. And if you're doing really well, you want to raise the bar and do it even better. If you're not doing well, you definitely want to set the bar higher and say, I can achieve and I can do better, right? So we're going to go through Cotter's 8-step change model. And basically, he's laying like 3 major pillars in the 8 steps. He's saying create a climate for change, enabling and engaging your organization. And he says implementing and sustaining for change. These are all the 8 steps of his process. He says you must create a sense of urgency. What is urgency? Purpose. Okay. Sharnita. Yes, my senior. Explain it how many words you like. Very good. Complete a task or a goal. Have a set time frame for getting something done, right? Not, I'll get it done. Whenever, whatever. Having a goal and working toward that goal with a sense of urgency. Not falling into what Cotter talks about, complacency. He says, I'm going to try to bounce back and forth between relating to organizations because none of you are actually working yet, and Cotter's book is written for professionals, and your personal life and your life as a student. So he says you need to remove this dreaded word complacency. What's complacency? Comfortable with where you are now. I'm content. I'm a C student. I'm passing. I'm going to graduate. I don't need an internship. I'm good. You're happy where you are. You're not challenging yourself. You're not trying to do anything better. You're just here at DSU. You're a student. You're going to graduate. Then what? You need to stand out. You need to prepare yourself for the competition that's coming down the road. For all the students that are going to graduate with you that had an internship, were A students, that have built their soft skills, know how to present, know how to talk, got a killer resume, and here you come. And they're looking at you like, are you serious? So you want to prepare yourself for what's coming next. So again, complacency, being overly satisfied or comfortable with an existing condition, situation, or condition, often while unaware of potential danger or hazard. Don't let it happen to you. Don't get stuck. Don't get there and say, I'm good. I'm fine. This is where I am. This is, you know, how I'm operating in. I'll let these ladies come in. Being comfortable where you are and settling for where you are as the best that you can do, because you can always improve and always do better. So remember this: great things never came from comfort zones. Once you get in that place where you're comfortable, you're not going to reach your greatness. You're not going to reach your full potential. You're in a place of complacency and you're not growing and continuing to develop. So another great leader, Dr. King, said, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Don't get complacent. Don't remain where you are, because your peers are going to pass you by. And you're going to be sitting on the sidelines wondering why you don't have the CEO job, why you're stuck in a career and a path that you never intended to be in, doing something that you absolutely hate, dread getting up every day. And Sharnada is working at a company that she loves. Why isn't that you? Well, did you do what Sharnada did while she was at DSU? Did you apply yourself? Did you seize the opportunities that were presented to you? And if you didn't, that's why you don't have the opportunity and the job that she has now. So, ways that you raise your urgency level. That getting out of that state of complacency. Again, he starts talking about this as though it's an organization and you're trying to raise the urgency level within the organization. So one of the things he suggests is that you can create a crisis. So within a crisis, an organization needs to figure out, what do we do? How do we solve this? That creates some urgency. It shakes them out of that complacency. He also said you need to eliminate obvious examples of excess. So if an organization is trying to streamline and cut costs, they can't be having lavish retreats for their employees. I mean, you can't cut costs on one hand and then you're splurging and sending everybody to Hawaii for a retreat. That doesn't make sense. So you need to make sure that you're setting the right example. Set high revenue, income, productivity, and customer satisfaction levels high. Raise the bar. Okay, so you've reached this point. Now we need to go a little higher. So you need to keep raising the bar as you're attaining your goals. Hold more people accountable for broader measures of performance. What is accountable? What does it mean to be accountable? Take responsibility, right? So if I say to Sharnada, you're collecting all of the blue slips from every student for attendance, guess who I'm coming to when this is over? Sharnada, right? I'm not going to go to you and say, where are the blue slips? Did I hold you accountable for it? No. I held Sharnada accountable to make sure that she has all the blue slips at the end. And then they talked about something called happy talk within an organization. And that's basically where an organization and the management get to a point where they're just telling you everything's good. We made our quotas. Our customer satisfaction levels are high. Let's go out and celebrate all of our success. And then they let their guard down. Then all of a sudden the competitors start passing them by because they got to a point where, again, they were complacent. So Dr. King says and talks about this fierce urgency of now. And then he says there is such a thing as being too late. Procrastination is still the thief of time. So, for all of you in the room, everyone here, including me, how many hours in a day? 24. That's the question that everybody can answer. Do I get 25? No. I get the same 24 that you get. But guess what? In my 24, I may get up at 6. I may get to work at 7. I may work until 5. I may come home, take care of my husband, my child, and work another couple hours. In your 24 hours, you may get up at 12, go to class, get out of class at 4, go home, go to bed. So you have the same 24 that I have, and you have to make choices with that 24 and how you're going to spend it, and how you're going to spend it in a way that benefits you down the road. So he starts talking about creating a guiding coalition, and I think of Dean Covington, especially when I think about this. How many of you have had the pleasure of meeting Dean Covington? Hopefully all of you. Okay, she's a phenomenal woman, a great leader. And when she burst on the scene, because I have worked for 4 previous deans, and I've been at Delaware State University longer than many of you have been alive. I've been here 22 years. So she was all about creating a guiding coalition, getting a team that would work toward a vision that she had for our students of student success. So she knew this team. Together, everyone achieves more. She made sure she got the right people assembled. She created trust. And then she had us all working toward a common goal. And again, our goal is focused on student success. Hence your participation today here in Deep Day. This is part of including that student success within what they're calling the co-curricular pathway. Have you heard that expression? Have you heard co-curricular? Nobody in here has heard co-curricular. Have no clue what that is. Okay, so co-curricular is your academics on the one hand, your soft skills, interviewing, resume writing, internships, mentors, case competitions on the other hand. It can't be all academics, right? How many of you are in clubs? Okay, so you're starting to build some leadership skills. You're working in a team with your other club members. That's part of that co-curricular. So it's not all about just I got an A in accounting and I'm a straight A, I'm on the dean's list. There's going to be a lot of straight A dean's list students that come out and graduate with the students that graduate in 2017. But you need to stand out. You need to show that you have the potential to lead. You want to have had an internship like Sharnada so that you can say, this is my professional work experience. I didn't just work at Chick-fil-A or at the mall. I've done some professional things, right? So he talks about types of individuals who shouldn't be on the team. And he goes into detail talking about big egos. Anybody know anybody with a huge ego? Okay. Big egos. If you don't know any now, trust me, keep living. You'll know a few people that have huge egos. They know it all. Can tell you, anything you ask them, they got the answer. They're the smartest person in the room. You don't have an opinion that's worthwhile. Everything they say is gospel. And they don't know their own weaknesses. So these are people that you really don't want on your team, and I would say you don't even want in your inner circle in your life. That support system should not include that person with that huge ego. Okay? And then he also talks about what he refers to as snakes, which is really a metaphor for a person that's kind of shady and, somebody you don't really trust, and they're going to go tell Sharnada something about me, then they're going to come back and tell me something about Sharnada. They're sowing seeds of discord and causing confusion in the team. You don't want them to be a part of your team either, or your inner circle. So I thought this was very appropriate as I thought about snakes. And it says sometimes it's not the people who change. It's the mask that falls off. And my husband has an expression, we were talking to our daughter about relationships, and he said, in relationships a lot of times, the guy, the girl, you bring your representative. You bring that person that you want that other person to like, right? You're going to show your best person, your best self. But over time, in the right situations, all of a sudden, the mask is sliding off. And they're starting to see who you are. So in your relationships, personal, professional, observe people. Pay attention. Not only how they treat you, how they treat other people. What do they do when they think you're not watching? What do they say when they think you're not listening? That tells you a lot about that person, right? So, I is the smallest word in the dictionary. Don't make it the biggest in your vocabulary. Don't make it all about you. Hopefully, whatever career path you're going in, you're thinking about making your mark and how you give back, right? You're not just focused on, I'm going to make as much money as I can, and I'm buying this car, that car, I'm going to have a big house. Hopefully, in that process, you want to give back. You want to contribute to your society, to your family, to those around you in a positive way, right? Remember that only small people, right here, Need to make themselves look big. Yes. So, need I say more? Okay. So, small people have to make themselves look big. And they're finding ways to belittle other people so that they think they can rise and look bigger in other people's eyes. When really, as I said, if we're watching and paying attention, we are looking at these people saying, you know, do you realize how you look? Do you realize how you're coming across? You're very small. And and that is definitely a true case if you're paying attention to what's going on in our political environment today. I'll leave it at that. So, developing a vision and a strategy. That's his third step. Okay, so basically, a vision is a picture of your future, where you're going. So, again, like I said, I'm bouncing back from Cotter talking about an organization to me talking to you about your vision. Okay, so I know Sharnada's plans. Anybody else have you're a senior, right? What is your plan? Working for Deloitte? Awesome. So after graduation, your name is Tashana is going to live in Atlanta and work for Deloitte. She got a plan. She's got a vision. She knows what she's doing. For my sophomores and my juniors in the room, if you don't already know, start developing your plan. What comes after DSU? You're not staying here, right? You're going to graduate, right? That's the plan. What happens next? You need to know where you're going. So, and because all of you are so young, this really applies to you and your fresh thinking. You can't solve current problems with current thinking. Current problems are the result of current thinking. That's where your young, fresh minds come into play. And remember this, a man without a vision, or a man or woman without a vision for his or her future always returns to their past. So you need a vision and a plan for where you're going so that you're not going back to the familiar, that state of complacency, that comfortable, that comfort zone, right? Characteristics of vision: imaginable, desirable, feasible, focused, flexible, something that you can communicate quickly. So if you were able to talk with any of the companies that were represented downstairs, hopefully you had a vision for what it was you wanted to do that you could articulate to them very quickly. My plan is, I'm an accounting major. I'd like to work for an accounting firm. I like to be an auditor. You had something that you could share with them that they could then ask you some questions about specifically how their company might be a fit with the career path that you were choosing, right? So you need to think about, what is that vision? It needs to be an imagined idea or goal toward which you're aspiring. So that out in the distance, the next 2 years, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, where are you going? What's your plan? What's your path? Have you laid it out? Have you written it down? One of my favorite books, the Bible, Proverbs 29:18 says, without a vision, the people perish. You need a vision for where you're going with your life. The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. No one in here is blind. I didn't see anyone come in, with a little walker and trying to find your seat. So everybody can see. But does everybody have vision for where you're going and what's coming next in your life? That's so important. He talks about how you communicate that vision, and he says you need to have key elements in how you communicate. It needs to be very simple. Don't use any jargon and slang. Use something like a metaphor, which is basically something that paints a picture. Like, for instance, when we talk about people that were snakes, that's a metaphor for people that, are not trustworthy, or people that cause confusion and division. Keep repeating that vision. So if you're aspiring to something, keep telling yourself over and over, I will. I will. Whatever it is. I will. Whatever it is you say you're going to do, I will. And put that positive affirmation out there and start working toward that goal. Lead by example. And again, this goes back to organizations and how leaders should lead. Explain if there are inconsistencies and things that you're doing that don't seem like they're going along with the vision. Why are you doing that? You need to be able to explain that. And then he said that communication should be give and take. Two-way is definitely a lot more powerful than one way. That's why I'm trying to get your feedback in this process, although most of you are not sharing. But two-way communication is much more effective than just someone talking at you, right? So communication must be HOT is the acronym. That's honest, open, and two-way. And remember this, wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they have to say something, anything. And they say whatever. They don't care. They make up stuff. You know, they come up with things that don't add any value to the conversation. So he gets into talking about empowering employees for broad-based action. What does the word empowerment mean? Go ahead. I thought you were mouthing something back there. You don't want to share? Okay. Anybody else? Empower. I see like light bulbs and heads, minds turning, but nobody's saying anything. So like, I mean, it's right there in front of you, but I want you to put it in your own words. I mean, this is a word that empower gives you exactly the definition within the word. So it basically does mean to give someone the authority or power to do something, right? So in an organization, when a leader delegates and gives other people who are part of that coalition and that team power to be in charge of something, they're empowering them to take control of that particular function within that organization. So leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. So he also gets into number 6, which is basically plan and create short-term wins. So basically this is when you're working within an organization and your organization has a vision. You know, your leader has a vision. And let's use Delaware State University and the College of Business, for example. So the vision is all of our students will have internships. All of our students will graduate within 4 years. All of our students will get jobs within their career field. Are we there? Are we halfway there? Are we a quarter? Maybe. It's off in the distance, right? It's maybe 5 years down the road before we'll start to really make progress that we can really measure and say we're now 50% to our goal. You know, this is going to be over a period of time that we're going to get to that point, but we're striving for that. In that process, we're creating some short-term wins. So what are some of those things? Some of those things are what we're doing today, Deep Day. So this is the second Deep Day. So Deep Day is giving you an opportunity to get your resume reviewed, do a mock interview. It's giving you an opportunity to hear from speakers, right, that are talking on a variety of different topics. We had a great keynote speaker who has risen through the ranks and is a high-level executive. We're going to have a business case competition, right? Those students that are presenting for the business case competition, that's, you know, building their soft skills, their presentation skills, their team working skills, right? All of this is a part of the short-term process to getting us to graduating within 4 years, making sure you have internships, making sure you can get good jobs. So that's how we're creating progress along this process. So it's something that you need to do to prove that you are working toward a worthwhile goal. You're creating rewards for efforts along the way. You're fine-tuning strategies. You want to let those that are naysayers and saying, you know, you'll never do that. Well, look, we've done this already. We've had 2 successful Deep Days. We've expanded it, and we have a company information fair. We didn't have that last year. We have these other topics and more resume reviewers and more mock interviews. So we're increasing and improving throughout this process. And you want to keep your executives engaged. You want to reinvigorate the effort, and you want to continue to build momentum as you continue to build your change. So his step 7 is basically consolidate gains and produce more change. So along the process, and even along your life journey, the one thing that's going to be constant is you're always changing. You're always going to the next level. You're not going to remain and stay the same. So the guiding coalition uses their credibility from short-term wins to just create even more change. So now what's coming next year? Now we've done Deep Day. Now we have a mentoring program. Now we're working on internships. What are we doing next year that keeps us moving toward our goal? And we continue to reinvigorate the change process and build momentum and energy for change to continue. And 8 is basically just anchoring the culture in this new approach, this new way as the leader moves forward. So what do you see here in the College of Business, as College of Business students, as the culture in the College of Business? Sharnada, as our senior, you've been here 4 years, you're getting ready to graduate. What's the culture of the College of Business? Right, exactly. So today, Deep Day, all of you look wonderful in your professional attire. This is something that when you go to forums, you have to be professionally dressed, right? Why is that? Why are we doing that? What's the purpose? What was that? Preparing you for the business world. We want you to start, even as you are still here at DSU, making that transition in your mind first, right? You're going to transition from Delaware State University. You're going to have your degree in accounting and marketing and management. Whatever your degree is going to be in, you're going to go work for either yourself as an entrepreneur, maybe a nonprofit, maybe you're going to work for a firm, one of the, KPMG, Deloitte. So you need to prepare yourself for what's coming next. You don't need to graduate and be thrust into an environment and culture that you are totally unaware of. So we're trying to prepare you to make that transition. So we want you professionally dressed so you understand what is required of you when you are in the workforce and how you need to dress and how you need to prepare yourself, right? So that culture is the way a group of people act and what they believe. So we believe in creating an atmosphere that gears you toward success, gears you toward thinking of yourself as professionals, even though you're students. Start thinking of yourself as aspiring executives. And so therefore, we want you to dress professionally. We plan this extensive day for you to get you transitioning again on that co-curricular pathway. I'm a student, but very shortly, and believe you me, 4 years is a blip in your life. Do you remember how fast high school went by? Okay, and then you woke up and said, oh my God, I'm a senior, I'm getting ready to go to college, right? It's a blip. And then you're out there. You're an adult. You're in the rat race. You're in the workforce. And from there on, you're building your career. You're maybe taking a husband or a wife, having some children. You're building your life, okay? And you're making steps and you're making transitions in your life for what you envision that future state of your life to be. So again, the culture just looks at the norms of behavior and some of the shared values of the group. So I wanted to talk really specifically about all of you as millennials and how I believe that you all are change leaders. Here's a statistic that I wanted you to be aware of, that baby boomers, such as myself, are leaving the workforce at nearly 12,000 a day, okay? 12,000 a day. That means there's a lot of vacancies within companies who are losing baby boomers who in some cases have worked at those places for years. And they're looking for millennials, young, fresh minds who are quick to learn, eager to compete, and take those vacated positions. They tend to be more positive and open-minded because you're from a different generation. So the old mindset, the old way of thinking, the old things that folks of my generation thought about, you don't know anything about that. Has anybody ever used a payphone? Ever seen a payphone? Oh, okay. I'm surprised. Because payphones are obsolete now. I mean, they're basically non-existent. I mean, there was a payphone at every gas station and at every, store because that's how you communicated during my time when I was in college. If you didn't have your landline, which is now more and more people don't have landlines, they just use cell phones, right? So if you weren't near a landline and you were traveling, you had to stop at a payphone and make a call and say, I'm going to be a half an hour late. Those days are gone. That doesn't happen anymore. So practically your generation now operates, I say almost from birth, but from the time you're able to, be away from your parents and be responsible and you need to make that call home, you got a phone in your hand. You're 10 years old and you're calling your mom saying, can you come pick me up, with your own personal cell phone, right? That's your generation. That's the way you're growing up. It's totally different than the way I grew up. So you have a fresh mindset because you're used to the technology that we have. So you can be leaders because you're used to, being innovative and creative, and also you're used to high turnover because in your generation, unlike mine, you'll probably have 4, 5, 6, 7 jobs during the same time period that I've had one. Because people at your stage, millennials, are not staying at one company for years and years. The lifetime, long-term employment opportunities are limited. And then for many of you, you just keep moving onward and upward. It's not even that the company has kind of booted you out. You've outgrown the company. So now you're looking for the next opportunity. So you're not focused on what happened in the past because, you're millennials. You don't know what the past history was of the company. You come in with a fresh mind and you're looking around saying, why y'all still doing this? This don't make no sense. This is the 21st century. And you come in with that fresh mind and your fresh ideas, and that's what's needed to lead change. So you're less focused on time and more of your emphasis is on what's the result? What are we trying to achieve here? So, have any of you heard of the Individual Development Plan? You have. Has anybody else heard of it? You been to see your advisor? Okay, so what's the Individual Development Plan? Right, right. So what is it? Right. So she said the individual development plan is a plan. It's basically that. Remember, I talked about that co-curricular pathway? So you have your academics on the one hand, you have that co-curricular pathway, which focuses on those soft skills, which focuses on you need a mentor. You need to participate in some of these opportunities to go to conferences, to participate in business case competition. You need an internship, right? You need to make sure you have your resume reviewed, right? These are all things on that co-curricular pathway that go along with your academics that make you more well-rounded and better able to achieve success when you graduate from Delaware State University. So we're preparing you for that. If any of you have been involved with SAP, okay, so that's something new that came under the leadership of Dean Covington. That's part of that co-curricular because SAP is a huge company, right? And they hire a lot of people all over the world. So we're exposing you to that. Not only SAP as a company, but the companies that are aligned and use SAP. So those are more opportunities that we're exposing you to, right? So what we developed, and we meaning the guiding coalition that Dean Covington created, is what we call Business Education Student Transformation Best Model. Have any of you heard of that? Probably not, because this is a document that we're using, the management team, as we're working to prepare our students, again, with this co-curricular pathway. So we're focused on the soft skills, mentoring. And did I mention I'm in charge of the mentoring program? Right. So if any of you are interested in having a mentor, I highly encourage you to see me. Internships and job opportunities, conferences and field trips, and business case competitions. We're going to have one today at 3 o'clock. So this is, again, that co-curricular, those soft skills, how we hope that we're going to help you be successful, not just academically. Hopefully you're all doing well academically. And if you're not, I'm challenging you again to come out of that, I'm passing, I got to see. It's all good. Challenge yourself that you can do better. Challenge yourself because if you want an internship, they're going to look for the top students. So I see students in different events and settings. When we pull our top students, you see the same students over and over again because they're the students that are striving. They're the top students. They're at the mock interviews. They're the ones participating in the business case competition. They're the ones who get the internships. You want to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. So if you're stuck, you're in that complacent state and you're like in that comfort zone that we talked about, get out of it. Remember what I said about today? You can change your story. If you say, that's been me. I'm just kind of here. I'm going to graduate. I'm a C student or a BC student. I haven't had an internship. I'm shy. I'm quiet. I don't participate in clubs. You need to start thinking about what happens when you graduate. Shy, quiet, I didn't network, I didn't have an internship is not going to get you the job that you want unless you're going to do something exclusively by yourself as an entrepreneur where you don't need to interact with anyone. So you really need to think about what's coming next. So what we hope is happening during your 4 years at DSU is that you're being transformed. Transformation, the act, process, or instance of changing in character or condition. That's what we hope is happening to you. So here you bounce in, freshman, wide-eyed, excited to be here, right? You need to start taking advantage of opportunities. As I said, mentoring, the resume writing. Get into a club. How many of you said you're in clubs here? Good. Wonderful. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. When you get to your sophomore year, we hope that you're doing some, presenting in some of your classes or in some of your clubs. You're doing some interviewing. You're starting to brand yourself. How many of you have a LinkedIn? Okay, that's how you start to build your brand, right? Don't put your, you in your hot dress going to the club picture on LinkedIn. That's not what that's for. LinkedIn is your professional page. And I would also encourage you, because the companies now are starting to check you out on Facebook and all your other social media. So be careful what you're putting out there, because that's branding you. And they're going to look at that. It represents who you are. Okay, you want to get to the stage. Hopefully in your junior year, you're in some kind of leadership roles. You're making decisions. You're doing team projects. You're doing critical thinking. You're part of STOMP. You're learning more and more about opportunities that are going to be available to you as you prepare to graduate. And then now you're a senior. You've done some mock interviews. You're starting to apply for jobs. And now you are ready to start driving change. That's where we hope you'll be as a senior. So here's your roadmap, right? That's what this co-curricular pathway is. We're painting a roadmap for your success. So again, college of business, we're focusing on professional dress. We're trying to create that corporate atmosphere for you, so you get accustomed to what we hope you're going to be going into when you graduate from DSU. We want you to have a mentor. Mentors are so important. They've been where you are. They know what the obstacles and the challenges are, and they can guide you along the way. Want you to be able to attend some conferences. How many of you have attended conferences as a student? Wonderful. Wonderful. So you want to take advantage of those opportunities. Attend conferences, participate in competitions, get an internship. How many of you other than Sharnita have had internships? Awesome. You want to take advantage of internships, because now that you've had an internship, what can you do? You can get a job, and it's going to be something that goes on your resume other than Chick-fil-A, okay? That high school job that you had that was before you came to college, you got limited benefit out of that. You want to have a professional job that you can put on your resume. And not only that, that opportunity, as happened with Sharnita, can lead to your full-time employment when you graduate from DSU, right? So that's so important. Again, the presentations, we're going to have the case competition today, and hopefully all of you are going to stay and watch that. Those students that are participating, that's a great opportunity for them. So we hope that you get to this point where you're hired by a great company like Deloitte. And that's what we're trying to prepare you for. So 4 things that you as young leaders must do if you're going to lead older generations effectively. And the truth is, because you're millennials, many of the individuals who will be working at the companies where you will go and hopefully rise into a management and a leadership role, going to be a lot older than you. So as millennials, you need to be active listeners and learners. You need to get to know the staff, those individuals that will hopefully be working for you and with you on a personal level. You need to blend some of the old stuff that they're saying, we did this because of this, and we did this that way, with some of the new, fresh ideas that you have. And you need to earn their respect by being less authoritative. What does that mean? What's authoritative? authoritative? What's the word authoritative mean? Ian, I remember your name, so I'm going to call you out. What do you think of when you think of the word authority? Because that's the root word. I'm sorry? Controlling, right? It's somebody that's really bossy and controlling. That's really what the word authoritative means. So you want to be that leader. Remember we talked about the leader whose team is behind her, that coalition that you're building? So here's some people that to me are young, they're millennials, and I believe they're leaders in their own respective rights and their professions. Um, Everybody knows who this is? Who is it? Huh? Right. It's Trevor Noah from The Daily Show, right? And he's from South Africa, and he was born during apartheid. And I was just really impressed with him because I heard him on CNN on Van Jones, The Messy Truth, and just seemed to be wise beyond his years. And he's a comedian, really, but I mean, his serious side about what's going on with politics and what's happening in the world just really fascinated me. Who's this guy? Anybody know who that is? No, and I always forget his name, so I got to look at my paper. Not an actor. Did anybody watch the Oscars? Yes, you watched the Oscars. You saw that fiasco at the end. Moonlight. That's the director of Moonlight, and his name is Barry Jenkins. Okay, everybody knows Jennifer Hudson, right? An inspirational person, especially when we think about all the tragedies that happened in her life, and yet she is still out there doing her thing and being successful. Who's this person right here? Anybody know who that is? I don't know how well known he is, but that is Evan Spiegel, who's the co-founder of Snapchat. He's he's very young, I think in his late 20s, and you know who this is, right? Okay, so I was really inspired by her as I've watched her transition from being a singer to being a model and spokesperson to being an actress because she was in Moonlight and she was also in Hidden Figures. Yep. So my point of showing these individuals is to say to all of you, do they look any different than you? Anything special about them? So if they can achieve what they have achieved, what's stopping you from realizing your dream, whatever that dream is? Absolutely nothing, right? So dream big. So you are not too young to lead. So I'm calling all change makers. Are there any change makers in the room? I hope so. Calling all trailblazers. And I'm calling all groundbreakers. I believe that's all of you in the room who have the opportunity to do that. You are on a journey. Embrace change. Don't get stuck. Come out of your comfort zone. Because remember, nothing great comes from the comfort zone, right? How many of you in here love public speaking? So we have a few of you. Do you know that that is one of the most feared things in the world is to speak publicly? I mean, it just causes people just, I mean, they just, it's something that they're just frightened of. I am one of the people that hates public speaking. I had to get out of my comfort zone. I mean, you have to shake yourself out of the familiar and the comfortable. And you have to challenge yourself that, yes, I can. I don't want to. I like it here. I'm comfortable. I'm not stressed. I don't have to stand up in front of people and have all eyes on me. Yeah. That's the comfort zone. You got to shake yourself out of that. Okay? Make the most out of your DSU experience, this individual development plan that we talked about, all the activities of today. If you don't have a mentor, get a mentor. If you haven't had an internship yet, what do you need to do to get an internship? Find out. Right? If they say your grades aren't high enough, what do you need to do? How are you going to improve your grades? You study a little bit harder, right? Raise the bar for yourself. Say, you know what? I'm comfortable here. You know, it's okay. I can get a C easy. It's effort for me to get a B. Take the extra effort. Raise the bar again for yourself. So, as you're starting to rise up, as you're advancing, I heard this at the financial planning panel when they had the event last Friday. Lift while you climb, which basically means as you're starting to rise up, even if you're still at DSU, all of a sudden now you've gotten serious. You're working harder. You're getting better grades. And, you know, your girlfriend, she's still out partying every Friday night. You know, she's still laying around on Saturday. She knows you got a test on Monday, and she's out again Saturday night. How can you encourage her? How can you lift her up and say, look, we're going to graduate. What are you doing after you graduate from DSU? All the partying ain't going to get you the job you want. So maybe you want to do a little less partying and a little bit more studying so you can get that internship and get that job that you want to get when you graduate, right? And here's another quote that I love, and I don't know if any of you read the book by Stephen Covey called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but I highly encourage you to get it as you're transitioning through DSU. And I believe this is his last habit, which says sharpen the saw. Have any idea what that means? Sharpen your skills, right? What can you cut with a blade that's dull? It don't cut, right? It doesn't cut anything. A blade that's dull doesn't cut. So if you're dull, if your skills are stale, if you're not continuing to learn and to grow and to develop your skills, eventually you're ineffective in your job. You're not being offered promotions because you're stuck. Again, you're in that comfort zone. So, all my millennials in here who grew up with cell phones and iPads and iPhones and all of this technology and Xbox Ones and PlayStation, what is it, 5, 6, I don't know, whatever PlayStation we're on right now. You grew up with all of this. You're that instant gratification, generation. Everything is at your fingertips. You don't remember when there was no remote control, right? You don't remember that you walked over to the TV and manually changed the dial. You don't remember that, do you? There was, remote control's been around for a while. So remember this, life has no remote. Get up and change it yourself. You have to change your life. Like I told you earlier, today, you can start writing a different chapter in your book that's called your life. Also remember, you have too much ahead in your future to be incarcerated by your past. Don't let whatever it is, whatever situation, circumstance, and it can be good, it can be bad, it can just have you stuck at a certain place. You want to come out of that comfort zone. You don't want to get complacent. You want to hear and feel, as Dr. King said, that fierce urgency of now. And you want to seize the day. So, why fit in when you were born to stand out? And that was Dr. Seuss. Thank you all. Any questions? Thank you. You've been super good audience. I appreciate you. And if you have any questions, please feel free, if you're interested in the mentoring program, to stop down and see me in 106. And again, I hope you're going to the business case competition. Take full advantage of the remaining activities of today. Thank you.